Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be about who therapy is for and what recovery can look like for people from different walks of life and in different circumstances. Now, the scenarios I'm going to talk about in this video are not intended to encompass every situation, circumstance, or presentation, so if you have your own ideas around how recovery can look like, feel free to add your voice to the comment section below. To frame how we're going to talk about recovery involving psychotherapy, we're going to use Maslow's hierarchy of needs to give us a starting point. Please note that Maslow's hierarchy of needs was initially conceived to give providers a roadmap to aid mental health consumers, but the application of the ideas here will incorporate critique of his theory that can be found in articles such as Henwood's piece titled Maslow and Mental Health Recovery, a comparative study of homeless programs for adults with serious mental illness. To summarize Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we have physiological needs such as air, water, sleep, food, and shelter at the bottom of the pyramid as being essential. Safety needs are next, defined as personal security extending to health, property, and income. Next, we have love and belonging, which include friendships, family ties, intimacy, and a sense of connection. Second to last, we have esteem, which encapsulates respect, self-esteem, status, and recognition. Lastly, we have self-actualization, meaning that we've found our purpose in life and are leaning into the desire to become the best version of ourselves we want to be. To prime us for how we can still use Maslow's ideas, consider Henwood's thoughts on the matter, where he postulates that a linear process is at odds with mental health recovery, which has been defined as recursive and iterative. He continues in saying that, interestingly, Maslow's later work suggests that the pursuit of self-actualization may manifest from frustration over not having one's needs met rather than from their gratification. That is, facing adversity and failure can lead to self-actualization. And this is where I personally live when interfacing with clients and holding space, not just for where they are, but also helping keep them accountable to where they say they want to be. Now, with that being said, we're going to go over a few examples here using Maslow's hierarchy of needs to apply them to what recovery can look like in a few different situations. Please note that these examples assume no symptoms due to substance use unless otherwise stated, no symptoms related to the existence of a developmental disorder, and no medical concerns unless otherwise stated. Additionally, assume that the question of whether or not a referral for psychiatric services are desired has already been answered. So let's say that I'm working with Toby, who in their initial intake reports to me that they're struggling with depression. Upon reviewing some of their background information, they've reported that they're housed, have a stable job, generally feel confident in their own skills, but are struggling to figure out why they still feel so sad. Upon further assessment, we find that their family relationships are lacking in warmth and intimacy, and they've had a hard time making friends. For Toby, one part of their treatment plan is likely going to involve practicing their social skills. Support can look like talking through barriers to socializing, partnering up to figure out ways to meet new people that are going to have things in common with them, and refinement of social skills such as using icebreakers, setting reminders to follow up with people, and other relationship building or deepening skills. To Toby, recovery from their depressive symptoms is likely going to include a drastic reduction in isolated feelings and potential isolated behaviors being taken up. In addressing Toby's need for community, they can begin to reshape their relationship to themselves and hopefully the world around them. But what about when someone doesn't have access to the safety and security that Toby has to do this kind of work? For that, we'll transition to example number 2. Kara is a second-year emergency medical technician who presents to therapy with intense feelings of anxiety that are getting harder for her to control. She reports intense worry that she'll just die like one of these people in my truck, and what feels like little shots of adrenaline to her that are now disrupting her sleep. Her schedule of being on call for 48 hours in a busy city means that she rarely gets a break from her job duties when on shift, and the low pay the company currently offers makes her feel as though she is trapped with few options for economic mobility. But on Maslow's pyramid, we can hypothesize that Kara's safety needs may not be met, with some contributing factors being low pay, compromised feelings of personal security, and further issues of employment that may threaten her health. In therapy, I could imagine that Kara benefits from not only learning coping skills in the short term, such as deep breathing, grounding techniques, etc., but also in devising longer-term solutions. Some questions I might have for Kara would assess family and friend support, her personal reasons for having gone into EMT work, her potential levels of vicarious trauma, and whether or not she feels like her current company aligns with her values and aspirations for herself. Sleep hygiene would also be reviewed to gauge nighttime habits such as excessive screen time before bed that could be impacting Kara's ability to sleep. In that, we'd also provide Kara psychoeducation about sleep techniques that could help improve her ability to both fall asleep and stay asleep. Assuming that Kara wants to stay in the EMT field, we could first review options in her immediate workplace such as schedule changes and, if all else fails, begin discussing alternative EMS companies that are able to provide her with more sustainable pay and a better quality of life. Most importantly, through helping Kara with any of these changes, I'm going to try my best in supporting her through just how hard EMS can be. I'll try to be as empathetic to her as I can, balancing accountability with genuine care and concern for what she has to say in any given week. It's important to note that if I'm right about the problems Kara is facing, it doesn't necessarily mean I'll be right about the solutions. So making sure to impress upon Kara that she is an equal partner in the psychotherapy relationship is going to be critical in helping empower her to think, feel, and work through some of the issues she's currently experiencing. The last example we'll use for today will be George. George is in his mid-30s and has been working as a software engineer for the past 3 years. His symptom presentation is consistent with adjustment disorder with anxiety, as he's only recently begun to experience anxious thoughts pertaining to his workplace. George often receives glowing reviews about his performance from both colleagues and supervisors, yet has turned down 2 promotions due to his fear that they would result in too much change for him and his family to handle. In speaking with George, it's clear that he loves his partner very much and envisions a future in which the two have children. George fears that advancing his career will take his focus off what's really important, noting that he fears declines in his romantic, friendly, and familial relationships. On the hierarchy of needs, George seems to be struggling with his sense of love and belonging. I would first assess the levels of intimacy and closeness George experiences with his family, how he feels about his support network, the dynamics of his romantic relationship, and whether or not he feels comfortable speaking about these fears to anyone else in his life. I would then begin to assess what information George is basing his fear off of. It is possible that George saw dynamics in his own circles shift, or there could be alternative rationales to his fears, such as needing to relocate for a promotion. I would additionally assess George's ability to assert himself in the workplace regarding discussions he could have with supervisors that may be helpful in his ability to discern what roles and positions would align with his values, and making sure that he's able to prioritize time with the people he loves. Lastly, I would have a vested interest in expanding George's ideas about what he wants for himself in the short and long term. George is being recognized so much at work that I would be curious about just how much he's being recognized by others outside of work and what his experience of turning down promotions has been like. I do get the sense that turning down these promotions has been destabilizing for George, so understanding his experience of both the workplace and relationships he builds in it would likely be helpful in partnering with him as he works through these issues. The examples I previously listed are just a snapshot of considerations that would be made, and further considerations that would be taken into account would consider age, race, sexual orientation, gender identity, cultural considerations, socioeconomic status, ability. Being able to understand the importance of how these identities not only intersect but impact one's ability to improve their circumstances can help both parties in the therapy relationship identify areas of strength and need, which will no doubt play a role in recovery from the distress that brings consumers to seek out mental health services in the first place. I hope this video has been helpful for folks in considering what recovery can look like from circumstance to circumstance. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to this channel to help support, and if you'd like to share any curiosities you may have about psychotherapy topics, please feel free to share in the comments section below. This video cited work which can be found in the description of this video, so if you're interested, I'd encourage you to check those links out for yourself. Thank you for joining me today, and look out for our next video drop in a few weeks. Take care.